We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. Welcome along, Sid from Songs from the Attic 1977. How are you?
I'm very good, mate. How's yourself?
Yes, very good, mate. Good to see you. And as always, a little bit of music and a little bit of Newcastle United in this hour. Slightly later time tonight, so there'll be a few of you probably tuning in for the first time. Welcome. This is Talk of the Toon, and a very good show. Good addition to the NUFC Matters brand, I feel. And the breaking news, which Tom was straight in about, was the sad news about Kieran Trippier. Is that he faces 2 to 3 weeks on the sidelines with a calf strain. He's had the scan, Sid, and he's going to miss the Chelsea game. He's going to miss the Manchester City game, but it looks as if he will be back for West Ham at home at the end of the month. Which is, well, that's a big game anyway, but it's not as bad as first year. So, our injury list this year has been full of injuries, which would be 3 or 4 months long, mate. So we've got away with one there.
It is. And if you looked at, I know the print of the data, I think it was last week, didn't they? And Newcastle were at the top of most days lost by an absolute country mile, weren't they? And compared to all the other teams, it was ridiculous. I mean, Wolves were right down the bottom. I was genuinely surprised. So Newcastle were like so far ahead of everybody else, unfortunately, in terms of injury. So it's not terrible. And let's be honest, Livramento looks great. So it gives him a chance to prove himself further again on the right, because he's obviously more comfortable on the right. When he came on the other day, he was fantastic, So I'm confident. I'm confident. And we've also got Kraft there as well. If something happened to Livramento, and he's been terrific since Eddie Howe took over. Dead unlucky with that big log injury, but again, come back and looks very good. So I've no real qualms in that position. So it could be worse.
Yeah, and he won the award, Kieran Trippier, the North East Football Writers Player of the Year award. Well deserved, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, up until the whole brouhaha in terms of November, he was magnificent up to that point. Everyone was saying, probably the best right back we've ever seen, and he's crossing zone really stats are through the roof. Everybody's got him on Football Manager and all that sort of stuff. And you can see why, because of the data that he creates. I mean, if I still did Football Manager and all that sort of stuff, I would have him on my team just because of his figures. To be a right back and be just about the most creative player in the country, it's insane, really, isn't it? When you think about it, it's not normal. You'd expect someone like De Bruyne or something to be at the top, but to see him there, it speaks volumes. But more importantly as well, he's that figurehead, isn't he? He came. Well, let's be honest, he didn't have to come to Newcastle. We were up a certain creek basically, and most of us. Did I think we'll go down? I wasn't sure. I could have flipped a coin when when he came, I think it wasn't clear we were going to stay up. Nobody thought we were immediately going to stay up at that point. We had a fighter's chance, but it wasn't nailed on. And he should always be remembered as somebody who's came in and turned everything round. And I think I said on one of the shows that previously Brian Kilcline was the most important signing that Newcastle had ever made in the time of my time ago at the match. And it's now Trippier. You know, irrespective of you think his form's dripped a little bit here and there, he came in and rescued the club. He was also that inspirational figure where other players thought, oh, blimey, we've got an England international going to Newcastle. Then he's, you know, if he can do it, the rest of us can sort of follow in his footsteps as well. So, yeah, well-deserved, top player, and possibly the best captain I've seen at the club. Just maybe it's Pip's Barry Venison for me now, just.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
Lots of comments coming in. Blue Rhythm Boy says, serious questions to be asked of the medical staff, facilities and training regime. I feel players have been misdiagnosed and rushed back. I mean, you've already touched on the fact that Newcastle are topping the table quite considerably with the list of injuries and time out that players have had. Would you think that Blue Rhythm Boy's suggestion's right there? Maybe they do need to look internally as to what's going on?
I would suggest they're already doing it. I mean, somebody's left by mutual consent. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can put it into whatever way we want to look at that. But you're not doing your job properly if you don't review your progress year by year in terms of whatever job you've got. We all have performance management and all that, you know, wherever you've worked. And you have to review what you've done, what well, and what you can do better. And that clearly applies to football as well. And if somebody's not doing the job properly or to the best of their ability, then in the workforce, you would maybe say you'd be given a plan in terms of how to improve. I'm not sure in football, you'd probably be given maybe give you P45 and get somebody else in. You know, it's a different ball game. Well, yeah, they have to. If Newcastle are serious about getting to the top of the profession, you have to get the top people, the top men and women in those jobs to do the job properly, and that's fair enough.
Yeah, I would agree. It's one of those things that, you know, that you've got to get right. But I think Eddie Howe came out in one of his press conferences a few weeks back and said that we have to, he was talking about a particular player and said, you know, we've got to take our responsibility. So I think you're right. I think there's already been an internal inquiry as to why there's been so many injuries and why the injuries that we're picking up, despite some of them being, as a lot of people have called, freak injuries, why those particular injuries are not just 2 or 3 weeks, they're 2 or 3 months. That's been the big problem. Had some of these injuries simply been 2 or 3 weeks, Newcastle wouldn't have struggled. But it's, Harvey Barnes out for 3 months, Willock out for 3-4 months, Willock coming back from an injury and then picking up another one off the back of that. I mean, it's
the Anderson one is.
Yeah, I mean, it's stuff of nightmares, isn't it? It's stuff of nightmares, and it's a head scratcher why we've ended up with these injuries like that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, there's so many of them. We didn't get a spate of 1 week, 2 week. We got 3 months, 4 months. You know,
yeah.
We can list 6 or 7 players and go, wow, some of them are still not back.
Yeah.
Every team would struggle, and I, as I said on a number of shows now, I predict Newcastle to be top 4 this season before all the injuries, and I stick to that. I think we would have achieved it, in my opinion, without a doubt.
So the supercomputer has predicted that Newcastle will finish 6th. Do you think that's probably about right?
It's feasible. I think we'll be no less than 7th, and I think that will get us into the Europa League, which would be great. You know, bearing in mind the injuries is, which has been through the roof. I think it'll be very, very good.
Yeah.
I would 6th is maybe pushing it, but I can't see why not. We've still got to go away to Manchester United, who I can't believe I'm saying this, I would expect to beat. And and we've still got Chelsea. Chelsea's a big one. I think Chelsea on Monday's a massive game because it tells us
It's a 6-pointer.
It tells us where we're going to be as well.
Mm.
I mean, Chelsea, they've just dropped off the map in the last 2.5 years. It's just incredible, isn't it? You
and
can't
spent £1 billion.
Yeah, you can't believe what's happened to them. And their fans are not fans of Pochettino, who I rate. I think he's a good manager. I'm just, long may it continue, long may it continue. But yeah, I think this week's a big one. I think depending on how well we do on Monday, ask me next week and I'll tell you exactly where I think we'll come. I don't think we're capable of getting into fifth, though. I think the points difference is just too vast.
Newcastle win on Monday. That takes them to 43 points, leaving Chelsea in 11th on 36. So that that would be a 7-point gap. It's not unachievable, but it's a big gap.
It's not unachievable, but they won't catch it because their form's just awful.
Yeah. And they've got some big games to play. We've only got Man United. Then we have Man United and Tottenham to play after that, and that's that's it. The rest of the teams are below us, or just under us, around us. So
we could theoretically go unbeaten now till the end of the season, and I suspect this game really is the game for me, because if we don't get beat, I genuinely expect that to happen. I think we will have got over that massive slump. And then we'll start going back on the rise again. Going back to the point you made before about the injuries, and it fits in with all of this as well, it's noticeable how our formation was different on in terms of what we were doing on Saturday against Wolves. We weren't pressing right up at the front, and I'm wondering whether that's because it's injury related, not trying to get them to overstretch as well. It must be. So sorry, I digressed. It was something I was going to say, and I just sort of went back to it there.
Yes, Dave, possibly a couple of years' time. Congratulations to the guys who have managed to get the film studio sorted out in Sunderland. That's a massive bit of news for people wanting to film in the Northeast. So well done to everybody on that score. Going to take lots of points coming in. FFP, I know you wanted to discuss that today. Somebody saying here, why are fans hung up on FFP? If we want to compete in Europe, we need to meet the European rules, which are even stricter. If they relax the rules in the Premier League, it doesn't really help us at all. So, there has been a new rule come in, hasn't there? Les has pointed it out. Just read an article about ATP rules strengthening, looking for any way to stunt our growth. So, what did you want to say?
Well, it's the fact that Newcastle, I think you have to get below, is it 70% of income spent on players is sort of going to be the boundaries. But because of the fact that they're trying to curtail any form of associate sponsorship, well, that's just, don't get me wrong. I'm all in favour of an equal playing ground. I don't really want to see Newcastle come in and blow everybody out of sight in terms of spending so much that you turn into a Hollywood team. I would like to see it being pretty fair, but at the minute it's not even pretty fair, is it? Let's be honest. And every time something happens, we get curtailed. And if we look at PIF, are they seriously going to try and therefore stop every company PIF deal with from dealing with Newcastle? So let's say, for example, Disney wanted to come in and sponsor us some money. Are they going to say no because you've got some sort of links? I mean, you'd be cutting out thousands and thousands of companies. I genuinely feel we must be pretty close now to the whole situation of restriction of trade. I really do think that, and it seems it's not right. It feels not right. We've got teams like Newcastle, we've got teams like Villa. People forget Villa are in the top 2 or 3 richest clubs in the Premier League, being stopped from spending money from their owners. I mean, you don't set up a business and then be told that you can't spend money on your own business. That's just not right. I don't want Newcastle to go in and blow everybody out the water in terms of spending, but as long as we had an equal playing field and we could spend the same amount as Liverpool or the same amount as Arsenal or whatever it might be, then that's absolutely fine. But at the minute, we're not allowed to get anywhere near those deals. We have to, yes, I appreciate we can build up, but every time we sort of step forward, they seem to be trying to sort of cut our legs off, basically, There's always a new rule coming in. And those rules don't apply to other teams. I mean, Man United and Spurs are on £1 billion worth of debt. Newcastle have no debt. Villa, I believe, have no debt. If that's the case, why shouldn't we be allowed to spend? And it's not right. It's really, really not right. And it's clearly just sort of designed to sort of keep teams back. And what really sticks in my craw is those teams who decided not to vote in the recent meetings, when they had an opportunity to stop the so-called Big Six from bringing in new rules, they decided to sit out. I mean, how spineless can you get? And then you hear one of them moaning on about a week or two later. I mean, it's just not right. It's really, really not right. It feels wrong.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Absolutely spineless. I genuinely feel that there will be a court case soon where this is going to occur. Whether Newcastle's hands are tied as part of the deal to have come into the Premier League by PIF, and then maybe he's not allowed, I don't know. Who knows? Nobody knows. But I suspect another club may come forward and say this is a restriction of trade. Because as I say, it's not just us, it's other clubs as well. And when you suddenly see the likes of Chelsea are going to be in massive financial issues soon, then the rules will have to be relaxed or changed, but they keep getting changed to hinder Newcastle's progress. And it absolutely stinks. It stinks to high hell, the fact that you've got two teams, £1 billion in debt, and they're allowed to keep spending. You know, that's what's not right.
It's the Chelsea thing that gets me, you know, how much they've spent, you know. And Newcastle just genuinely, you know, are watching their P's and Q's, yet, you know, Chelsea have gone out to spend £1 billion and don't seem to be concerned.
Yeah, the thing with Chelsea is a funny one because they've had so many young players in the club that they can go out and sell. And then they can obviously, because they've not cost anything, that then they can create all the money through it. So they've made an awful lot of money through players that people forget about. I forgot the lad's name now. Played for England. He went to, has he got to Milan? Played against us. I forgot his name now. So players like that, and you get like 30 million, and you know, if you can treble that, can't you? You know, it's 100 in terms of FFP. So I can see how they've done it. But then Chelsea are also in a situation where there's still some money stuck in an account, which Abramovich was supposed to pass on. And I believe, has it been passed on?
Yeah, exactly. Who knows?
Somebody tell me. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I'm asking.
Yeah.
So you've got all of this. You've got all of these questions not being answered or not being asked, actually, by many of the journalists. Mm-hmm. You get none of the journalists talking about Manchester United being $1 billion in debt. All you get is them talking about, you know, United, this, that, and the other. So that sticks in my throat as well, but that's another issue. And then the first thing, I'll give you a prime example. They talked about the new rules yesterday, and what did the Times do? They had a picture of Anthony Gordon on the front in Newcastle top. Yeah. And they talked about new financial fair play rules. It's as clear as day there is an agenda by certain newspaper people in terms of their views in terms of Newcastle, and that's fair enough to a point. But Newcastle haven't flexed their muscles; they haven't done anything sort of wrong, and yet time and time again, it seems to be us that they seem to be targeting, and unnecessarily at times as well. So I just think it's wrong. This constant restriction of trade, it will at some point end up in court. I am convinced some team will take them to court for it.
Yeah.
It's got to happen. Can you imagine if this was in Spain? There's no way Barcelona would allow this to happen. Real Madrid are a different case because they get help elsewhere, don't they? But again, and that wouldn't happen in Italy as well. I just couldn't see it happening. It's not right.
Yeah. So, you know, it says Poch is way overrated. Only ever won something with PSG, and anyone could have won something with them.
That's a fair point.
It's all about opinions. Well said, Sid. If everyone who has an issue with PIF swears to never watch Disney, use Uber and have a McDonald's again. And the Premier League did mention when City complained a few weeks back that it's been looked at from legal perspective, and they think it's not open to a legal challenge. The amount of debt allowed isn't right, says David Cook. And Mozza says they are determined to block this. I can see a strongly worded letter being sent. And that's a reference to Keith Patterson.
Yes.
And UEFA and the Premier League are rowing the same boat. UEFA wants the biggies, Real, Barca, Bayern, etc., not being eclipsed as they bring in the big money in the Premier League. In the Premier, it's the big six that bring in the pennies. Very good points there, Sid.
It is. But let's go back to the other point there. Before Mike Ashley, Newcastle earned more money than Tottenham Hotspur. So it's how far do you go back as well? You know, how far do we go back? And what do we describe as the big six? When Newcastle were in the big four, it was always then the big three. You know, so it was never the big six until we weren't involved. As I say, it just keeps going back. How far do you go back? I mean, do we go back as far as Chelsea being taken over? Because at that point, Newcastle had won more trophies than Chelsea and Man City combined. It just stinks. The whole thing stinks. But anyway, enough of my moaning.
No, it's what you if you've got a point to make, you use this platform to make it. Gary says, are the Bodies company called Clearwater don't pay IFF shares in the company, which would be ironic. No, the money is sitting in the bank because they can't find someone trustworthy to manage the transfer, says Les. There's the thing. And on Villa in financial problems. Yeah, that news broke this week, didn't it? It's
their wages. But ownership, if you go and check their details, they have... I think they've got the second richest owners in the Premier League, even more than Man City. It's certainly in the top three. So they should be allowed to spend. They're a big club. They are a big club. I might not be a fan of Villa, and in fact, hate some of their actions in the past, but I can sort of get on side with what their fans are having to see at the moment. And it is just a form of restriction of trade. That's the way it appears to me.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a problem that... we're all going to face. It'll be interesting to see how it all pans out over the course of the next 12 months. So many experts and everything from technical experts to architects, says David. That's within our fan base. Will FFP ever change, or will the Saudis just say stuff this and chance a points deduction? We could, as Mitch say, kick the case down the road lawyers wise, which is what other clubs have done, Man City, in particular. And Kevin says something's got to change. The last transfer window was a big fail for the Premiership.
I think on that front, that's the big one, isn't it? Because nothing was spent. There's no way they can allow a product, and let's be honest, this is what it is. It's a product to suddenly become to lose value. Okay, if that product loses value and other products elsewhere like Italy or Spain or Germany suddenly become worth more, then that's really going to impinge upon the Premier League. They cannot afford to allow that to happen, and I suspect they won't. I think they'll give a bit more leeway. I wouldn't be surprised to see FFP being doubled, for example. I could see that happening. Especially with it. I mean, if you think about inflation, it's crazy not to.
Yeah, exactly. Something has to change. You're right, though, Kevin, and I think it probably will. Moving forward. What else have we got in here? Barry's just passing on his best to Julie. There was another question which I had. What do you think about St James's Park moving? This is a big debate at the minute.
It's a massive debate at the minute, isn't it? I know everybody's sort of. I'll give you my opinion, and I'm sure everyone will disagree, but that's fair enough. I think people are genuinely deluded almost if they think Newcastle are going to increase the ground by say 10,000, and then they're going to give 10,000 season tickets away. I don't see that happening at all. I think those 10,000 tickets will be either given up for corporate or they will be given up to day-by-day, match-day fans. I genuinely think that. So, for example, next to me, I asked a guy the other week, because my old friend John was there until, let's say, 6 weeks before the blooming takeover, and I asked the guy, how much did you pay for your ticket? Maybe I shouldn't have done, but I did. And he paid almost twice as much as what it would cost for me for my ticket. Yeah. So if they can double the amount of money that they're going to get, then why wouldn't they do that? Yeah. And I don't suddenly see 10,000 season tickets holders or past ticket holders, as much as I think they should, suddenly getting tickets into the ground. I don't see that happening. So if you extend St James's Park as it is at the minute, if you did part of the East Stand or you'd add about another 6,000 or 7,000 on. I mean, do you really want to extend the Gallagher even higher? So, I think it was 25 years ago for a season, I was like second back row of the Gallagher. I could barely see a thing. So I wouldn't want to be any higher than that. And so my personal preference is to move. Now, in an ideal world, I'd move 50 yards into the Leazes. That would be absolutely perfect. And then they can rebuild a new ground like Spurs have done. And that would be absolutely amazing. And make it 70,000. You don't want to go too big. I think if you go too big, it's just silly. But you could have other things. You could have things like a roof on as well, so that you're never going to get an abandoned game, for example. You could have various other things. Of course, you're going to have all the sort of food outlets and all that stuff, because if you go on the East Stand, it's horrible. It's just this concrete slab. Same with the Gallagher, just a bit of concrete, and there's nothing there. There's nothing really entices you to go there. So they're losing a lot of money in terms of sales and all the rest of it.
Well, there's a message. Spurs used to earn £1 million on a match day.
Yeah.
Now with a new stadium, they earn £6 million match day. It's inevitable we're going to have to move if we wish to compete at the highest level, Sid.
Absolutely. I totally get it. And you know what? It's been drip, drip, drip over the last 2 years. If you'd said this 2 years ago when they took over, all the fans would have said, oh, no chance. I'm not moving from St. James's Park. It's this, that, and the other. And yeah, we all remember the first time we went in there, that first time I went in 1981, and you go, whoa, look at this. But then I look at it now. Is there any of that ground left? There's maybe part of this stand, and that's it. You know, nothing else. So is it, you can see it's all progress and it all has to change. Have we won anything at St. James's Park in most of our lifetimes? Not really. Maybe it's George and those can say so, but there's not many of us. And yes, it has special memories. Yeah. But I'm not averse to move. I'm really not. Go for it. Go for it. If it's going to make us have better players, have a more enjoyable experience, and more importantly, I can sit here and say, oh, yeah, I've got a great seat because I have. Yeah. But I would like to see young kids get seats and go at the match. I think it's wrong. I think they should get an opportunity, build a bigger ground, get more people in. Yes, you'll have your big corporate sections as well, but you can then get more people in if you have a much bigger ground, but not too big. And give more people the opportunity to go like we did when we were younger, as long as you don't price people out. And that is my fear, is that they'll price people out. As long as it's fair, I think is what I would say.
Yeah. Okay. I've not heard anything, David, about Amanda relinquishing the rest of her shares, so I don't know whether there's any truth in that or not. But we will just have to, as I say, wait and see. Okay, we are halfway through the show, which means it's time for the ads. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. Go to their website, skipsandbins.com. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com or telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Go to their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to United Group Travel. Go to their website, unitedgrouptravel.com. Email info@unitedgrouptravel.com or phone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. They're a local company from Morpeth, and there are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Big thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the subscribe button under the video. Click the thumb up to like the video and click share to your social media. If you want to help the channel financially, you can pay a one-off £25 fee. You get a cup, a scarf, a pen and a membership card and entry into the NUFC Matters monthly draw. Email john@nufcmatters.com for more details, or if you've got a smartphone, scan the QR code now and it takes you straight to the membership pack. We also support the food bank on this channel. Go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and you'll find the matchday bucket. You can make a donation virtually today. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify and other podcast providers. We also do events during the year. NUFC Matters Live will be at the O2 City Hall on Friday the 2nd of August for an evening with Rob Lee, one night in Antwerp. Tickets start at £15 and you can get them from ticketmaster.co.uk. An evening with the entertainers takes place on Friday, the 24th of January 2025 at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House in Newcastle. Telephone 0844 249 1000 or visit the website tynetheatreandoperahouse.uk to buy tickets today. You can also catch me on the North East Footy Breakfast Show live on Toon Radio weekdays 7 till 9 a.m. on DAB, smart speakers and the toonuk.com. And don't forget the Alan Shearer print, the Kevin Nolan print, the Nobby Solano print, and the Kevin Keegan print, and the Pavel Cernacek print are all part of the nufc Matters raffle. Get yourself in there. They're all signed. You can win a wonderful piece of Newcastle United memorabilia. And we have got our end of season party. The tickets are selling well. And great news, not good news for Stannington, they had to pull out. But good news, we've got Trev and Gaz from the Long Sands who've agreed to come and play at the event. It's going to be an aid of Dementia Matters, and Malcolm and Gibbo are going to be on doing a talk in as well. Get yourself along, £10 a ticket from newcastlelegends.com or nufcmatters.com. And the evening with Peter Beardsley is on at the 2nd of June, and that will be at the Irish Centre as well. Tickets on sale from newcastlelegends.com. Okay, it is time for Rockin' Rob. Good evening, Rob. How are you?
Hey, Steve. How is Sid? How are you?
Very good. How's yourself?
Really, really good. We will be down at the end of season party. Dementia is very close to me. I lost both my grandparents to dementia, so I will be coming down to the event. A brilliant cause, absolutely outstanding.
Great
so
stuff.
I will be down there. Yeah, brilliant.
Look forward to seeing you, mate. Okay. First of all, how's the band going?
Very, very well. Had rehearsal last night. I'm not going to give too much away, but brilliant. Really, really good. Steve, I'll send you some links to what we're doing. It's really good. We're going to have a wee, sort of like a warm-up secret gig for Johnny, his first gig. And then we've got gigs booked going forward. So it's really, really well. Really good.
Great stuff, mate. Well, good luck with that. Give Up the Ghost UK.
Thank you.
You find them on Facebook. So what are you bringing us today? I noticed you sent us another one of the albums that you're not going to review, which is Vito Lovejoy.
Look at that. Look at that. I know.
He's got a
it's just my sense of humour.
He's got a face his mother would love. But the album you are going to do today is?
Today is Electronic 1991. What I'll say before going forward, if my setup doesn't look very good, I'm moving house. We're moving house 2 weeks from today. So everything's, it's just a mishmash just now. So my connection and my surroundings, so it will get better. So everybody who's watching, it will improve. So we'll take Electronic 1991. I was packing my music room up. I found it on cassette. Listened to it again. Brilliant album. This is 1991, so it's a big collaboration. The first collaborated in 1988, but you've got Johnny Marr, obviously from the Smiths, Bernard Sumner, New Order, Neil Tennant from Pet Shop Boys. This is released Factory Records, Clear Studios in Manchester. I've categorised this as you do, indie, trance, rock and house. Absolutely brilliant album. I don't think there's a weak track on this album. Opens with Idiot Country. Really, I love the wah-wah guitar on this. It reminds me of the 70s streets of San Francisco, sort of American cop crime programs. Brilliant song. It's a bit of a rap style verse. Really, really good melodies on this when Neil Tennant adds his vocals to it. Really, really nice, sharp, mid-tempo opener. Brilliant song. Really like it. Then you've got Reality. This was originally done in 1988 when they first collaborated. I think Johnny Marr, Bernard Sumner were humming and hawing about doing a solo album separately, and they've obviously met up, had a discussion, and this is what's come out. Love the lyrics on this one. I don't need you anymore. I'm not the man you're looking for. Brilliant. Strong New Order sound on this one. Could have been, I think, on a Technique album. Remember, Steve, we covered this album on the previous show.
Yeah.
Technique. Then you've got Tighten Up, really strong song. Ultimate electronic song for me. It's dancey, loud, punchy guitar. To me, this is a sound I think they wanted in studios or jamming. Really guitar-driven rock synth song. It's just sublime. Really, really good. Patience of a Saint. This one is sort of very moody, very atmospheric. Lead vocals by Neil Tennant, obviously the Pet Shop Boys. There's sort of like a low-key synth sound on it, sorry. I like the atmospheric on the song. To me, this is my favourite song on the album. But if you're looking at other reviews or on the album, they're putting this song down. To me, this is my favourite song on the album. I just love it. I love the feel about it. I love the atmosphere about it. Simple as that. Then you've got Getting Away With It. A lot of people will know. If you don't, download the song. And it's one of those ones, yeah, I know that song now. I've heard that before. Top drawer song. Very uplifting, happy tune. Full orchestra in this song. It's a smash hit song. 350,000 sales. Absolutely brilliant song. Smash hit song. Then you've got track number 6, Gangster. It's a song about a friend of Sumner's. It's a catchy, memorable song. Upbeat. Originally, again, it was a solo song by Sumner in 1988. A tune that stays in your head all day. If you play it, it's one of those ones I can't get out of my head. Then you've got Soviet. It's a bit of a strange one. Probably my least favourite on the album. It's very dark. I'm surprised I didn't like it for those reasons. It's eerie, sort of like a conflict theme sound, sort of Eastern sounding. It's quite a weak song. It doesn't do anything, but it's okay. It fits in with the album. To me, it breaks the album up quite a bit. Then you've got track 8, Get the Message. I absolutely adore this song. It's one of those bright, sunny day songs, summer songs, brilliant guitaring by Johnny Marr's classic staple sound. Solo version of this as well as Top Drawer. I've listened to it. He's doing it separately. Really, really good. So, Sid, listen to this one, Get the Message, and listen to Johnny Marr's solo version of this if you haven't already. You've got Try All You Want, a very synth-heavy house dance sound. It's about relationships. Sounds a bit tired, a wee bit in this sort of song, but it's okay. It's all right, but just sort of tails off and it doesn't have much direction to it. Then you've got Some Distant Memory. It's a decent song about relationships, again, as usual. It's sort of good vocal arrangement on it, very good delivery, really good texture and guitar by Johnny Marr. I really do like the guitars on this one. It's, for a drummer, for me, to praise a guitarist is, it's a big thing. It's a big deal. And you've got Feel Every Beat, the last song. I really like the song again. Bernard, it's more of a rap vocal on this one. Good chorus. It sounds a bit dated, but it would do. It's experimental. Again, original collaboration, 1988. But it's okay. It was the first single off the album. I think it could have opened the album with a song that wouldn't have fell out of place. So, conclusion, it's an absolutely brilliant collaboration. A very, very, very good experimental album, but it's getting a 9.5 out of 10. But the song "The Patience of a Saint," which wasn't one that was labelled or stapled or glossed, to me, it's absolutely sublime song. Really, really love it. And also, just some breaking news on Sky News: Dave Rowntree, the drummer of Blur, has been selected as Labour candidate at the next general election.
Wow. Really?
Yes, that's true. Yes.
Is he going with the Green Party or the Munster Raven Looney Party? Because they're the two that I think I might vote for this time.
I don't know. And see, before I go, or before Sid jumps in, I have to say, like, the Hearts, my team up here in Scotland, my first team Hearts, beat Celtic at the weekend. That's twice we've beaten them in a row. Absolutely brilliant. Obviously, there's connections with John Robertson signing Newcastle in 1988, the hammer of the Hibs. I mean, any Hibs fans watching us, never forget the 22 in a row. But yeah, brilliant.
And he wasn't here for long, was he?
Exactly. I know. I was very, I know. big things were planned, and he was going to
Came
be
at
the
the
next.
wrong time. He came at the wrong time. We had a forward line which was all about 5'6". We had Mirantina, John Robertson, and John Henry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We bought about 4 players then, didn't we? We bought the keeper from Wimbledon as well, didn't we?
We signed what we thought was the best team in the country, certainly for the FA Cup. We signed Dave Besant, who was 6'7" and got lobbed every week.
Great keeper.
We signed Andy Thorne, who was a pretty good centre half and part of the Wimbledon World FA Cup winning team. We also signed Glenn Hodges, who lasted about 89 days from Wimbledon. It was useless and didn't feature. We signed John Henry. What a season that was! But we just we're front three. We're all 5'6", 5'7", and we played the long ball from Dave Besant. Only Newcastle United. Only Newcastle United. Sid, what music have you got for us this week? And
I've got one of the biggest albums of all time. I'm just trying to put albums on that people should really give it a listen to. You know, quite essential. It's not my favorite Miles album, but it is brilliant. Kind of Blue. It's just fantastic. When I used to have the shop, there used to be a girl come in called Ruth. She was lovely, actually. And Ruth used to do cassettes for us of Miles Davis albums. She got me into jazz. So thank you very much, Ruth. And this was one of them. It's an incredible album. I mean, it's not coming at number 12 on Rolling Stone's greatest albums of all time. It's just a great, great album featuring these famous sextets. You've got Paul Chambers, you've got John Coltrane, Cannonball Adderley. It's just an amazing band, an incredible band. It's just a lovely, chill album. If you've never heard any jazz music at all, this is really what I put it on for. Give this one a try, because this is the most accessible of all jazz albums. Just put it on late at night, and it's a great chill-out album. It's absolutely top-notch. I mean, Sketches of Spain's my favourite Miles album, but give this a go. It's a super, super album. So there we go. Just brilliant. Came out 1959. Just essential. And
you always bring us a book, Sid.
I have, and it's still on the jazz theme. It's John Connolly, Every Dead Thing. It's his first book featuring the character Charlie Parker. Hence the jazz theme, and his nickname's Bird, which Charlie Parker, the jazz musician's nickname was. And it's basically it's a crime novel he writes. It's a whole series of the Charlie Parker novels. And it's a crime novel which has a little bit of a twist because it deals also with the supernatural. So Charlie Parker's able to talk to the dead. Very, very clever. Bitches, Bruce, class. But that's hardcore stuff. Take your time to get into it. But yeah, it's brilliant. Absolutely top draw. Got some really funny characters in it as well. A guy called Louis and Angel, 2 gay characters who go around murdering people left, right, and centre, but they're superb. So give it a go. It's a fantastic novel. A great series of books.
Nat, I love that. Jazz is the last refuge of the untalented. Jazz musicians enjoy themselves more than anyone listening to them does. Tony Wilson, the late, great Tony Wilson. Some nice comments coming in. Mother says she's looking forward to meeting you at the Do, Rob, which is very nice. And what was the other one there? Alan says he's added on Spotify, Rob. Yano feels that the album hasn't aged well. It sounds very dated, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's all about opinions. And Paints, Plastics and Figures has really enjoyed the old content from the last couple of nights. Yeah, I'm gonna load a few more 1980s goals and and a few bits and bobs on the channel. So there'll be a few more of them coming, mate. So just keep your eye out, including that win. I think I put the win on, didn't I? Then the penalty shootout against Liverpool and the Mercantile Credit Classics going up tonight. So have a look for that. It's fantastic. But yeah, some good feedback there. Rob, and just have a think about what you want to do next week.
I'm on it. I'm on the case. It's going to be a good one.
Good stuff, mate. All right. Thanks very much, mate. Have a good weekend. Okay. We'll see you next week, mate.
Guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great to have Rob on, as always. Got about 15 minutes left. Lots of comments coming in, as always. Derek says, what about the rubbish on X today, saying that PIF are looking to offload us for 600 million so they can buy Liverpool for 3 billion? Something out of the dandy, that report, yeah. And I don't think we're being used in that way, Sid, are we?
I'd be horrified. And also 600 million ain't going to buy the club now, is it?
No.
You know, not a hope.
Lots of comments coming in about the ground. Terry says we can't go over 90,000 as Wembley can't be outnumbered. The Football League have it in writing so that no stadium in England can be larger than Wembley.
Barry said it's too big.
Barry says, I know St James's needs a lot of improvements, but the history is something we should never lose. And 65,000 screaming Geordies would rule the Premier League. Terry says, well said, Sid. New ground and sky's the limit. Beat Man U to the Wembley of the North. Yeah, and not ask other people to pay for it. Yano says, as much as we love St James's Park, this may be the only chance we get to have an all-singing and dancing stadium built securing the club's future. Could we not build a stadium inside the racecourse? It's a possibility, isn't it? It is a possibility, but it's too far outside the town.
You know, do you really, and don't get us wrong, I think the owners would love that idea because it then cuts out everybody going to the pub afterwards. It cuts out going to have a drink in the bar. We've all got our own different bars that we go to. And that's part of the idea of going to the match. You know, either
public transport will be a nightmare getting up there.
And then I don't want to see references to the Plumman Airport either. Yes, if they did it down at the arena, that's also a great location, I have to say. And you've still then got the access to all the bars. So I have no problem with that either. That would be magic. But also, I think people forget as well in terms of the atmosphere. If we get a new ground, we can then lure the away fans into a normal section, and that's going to help create atmosphere as well. You can then also have a whole singing end. You could like Dortmund have. You can then also have people like me who want to sit down, you know. And so you've got that. If we're not also going to have people up in the gods because it's not going to be so badly designed that you're miles away. So, you know, which it would be at the minute, because, I mean, Lee's the level 7's a meh. You know, you need an iron lung to get up to the top of that, you know, so it's just too much. So then everyone at least have a good view. That's my perspective. Everybody should have a good view, irrespective of where you are in the ground. I don't want to see people up miles away. I think it's unfair on the away fans being miles away. And that creates the atmosphere as well, because you get the banter between the fans bouncing off each other, which is the way it used to be, and it's great. So I'd love that. And also, last point about the ground, you also then get to hopefully choose to sit next to your mates.
Yeah, you can't create an atmosphere, by the way. An atmosphere is created by what you see on the pitch. It's as simple as that. And needless to say, I did apply to get into this atmosphere. This atmosphere chat at St James's Park. That's another no for Steve Wraith going to something at the club. So just add that in the little box along with all the other ones. But one day they maybe have us up there. You never know. Roger says, I 100% agree with your ground words before, Sid. Movement, size, kids, expansion, commercial, grow.
Yeah, and that's the way they should look at it. You know. I mean, for me, hopefully as well, I hopefully see the owners there for the rest of my lifetime, and the see us as, yes, they'll spend a little bit of money, but more importantly, is there any other investment that they've got which gets them as much publicity? Yeah, you know, you could argue Live Golf might do so, but then you could argue we would be on a par with that as well should we become as big as Manchester United and Liverpool. Yeah. Then you're going to have that free publicity, spend a bit of money, of course, let the club financially then pay for itself. Yeah, and it's a win-win, really, is the way I would look at it. It's a win-win, constantly good, hopefully good publicity. Yeah, great, man. Why would they go out and then spend loads of money on buying Liverpool? That's just... So I wish somebody had mentioned that now.
David says, is the Castle site being talked about, the wasteland between Richards and Road and the halls of residence? It has been, yeah. That's another thing that's been mentioned. Dig a hole, lower the pitch, says Kevin. And Muzza didn't get into the... I feel a bit better now, Muzza, if you didn't get in. Would love a pay on the door, all standing stand at a new stadium. It's a nice concept. Not sure the club would go for that, to be honest, but it's a nice concept, Derek. I get where you're coming from. There should be a stand where it's affordable tickets. I think it's probably the best way to describe it. Was the Atmosphere Workshop just season tickets? Didn't get a mail as a member. Not sure. Season ticket holders all got one. And Kevin just says, seriously, just move 60 yards to Leazes Park. Well, there doesn't seem to be the objection that there was 20 odd years ago. And I think the way that John Hall tried to bulldoze his way into there probably upset a few people. So maybe it's something that might happen sooner rather than later, and we might hear an announcement sooner rather than later. I suspect the club have already made their decision on the ground. It's a slow drip with info. Of
course they have. You know, it would be very naive to think that they already hadn't made their minds up. Yeah. I would say it probably has been decided. So
exactly, box ticking, yeah. Interesting one from Andy. Do you worry that our love for Trippier will restrict Tino's progress? I think if Eddie was Pep, he would move him on and let the new talent shine. It's a good question, that, Andy.
I suspect that's what will happen in the summer. The fact that Bayern Munich were in for him would tell me that they might well go back in for him again in the summer.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
enough.
I think Trippier will leave in the summer. Me personally, I think he'd be gone.
Totally
So, he'll go with our best wishes. He was fantastic,
Absolutely.
Jobadini, I feel that 12k is not enough for the cost of either a new stadium or extension. We need to put in a couple of extra quid for that extra seat and hospitality. And Moz's just
I would go 70,000. I would go 70, 72 even. No more than that. You don't need more than that. And also, if you go more than that, you're going to be miles away again. You don't want these views, which are terrible for people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, it was members and both got emails, says Mozza. Thanks for that. It's got to be a cost-effective exercise, Kevin. I would agree. And Lees's Park will do for Alan. Director of football is something else you wanted to talk about tonight,
Yeah.
Sid. It's Steve Nixon being linked with a job now in the papers tonight in the Chronicle.
It's sounding like they might change it and might come up with a whole new structure. So you might have somebody who's in charge of one element of director of football and somebody who might be involved in another element, which would be interesting, be fascinating to see. I watched Stu the other day talking about the same choice I had written down, actually, which was Paul Mitchell. He would be my first choice. Mm-hmm. So you look at his background, because you're not going to get Edwards. There's talk of Edwards going back to Liverpool, apparently. So Mitchell's the obvious choice. I mean, he was there at Southampton. He brought all the kids through. He went to Spurs, did a great job. Leipzig and Monaco. And what people forget there, he went in to clear up the mess of Michael Emiliano. I've probably pronounced it incorrectly, but he's the one that everybody else is talking about. But, well, this guy went in and cleared up the mess that was left at Monaco. And he's done a really, really good job by bringing kids through. So he looks, for me, the ideal candidate. He looks top notch, and he's out there. He's not got anything at the moment. So go and get him. Go and bring him in. And I said last week, I don't want anybody at all who's had involvement with Eddie Howe. You've got to have a professional relationship where somebody's, yes, you can be mates and be really, really, get on really, really well with them, but you've also got to be ruthless. And we can't allow, therefore, Eddie Howe to be the main man in charge of the club. You've got to have somebody above him, and the director of football, that's his job or her job. So therefore, I would want to see a director of football who's not really got an Eddie Howe connection. I don't want one person to have too much power in the club. Yeah,
I understand. I mean, the links with the guy from Bournemouth seem to be tenuous, and nobody at Newcastle is going to give you an answer on that. Yeah. But it's simply the connection, isn't it? It's the Bournemouth connection that's got everyone going, oh, right, okay, well, it must be him.
It is, and it's also that the whole Bournemouth thing of, we're going to go and get Lloyd and we're going to go and get such and such Solanke. And I thought, oh, good God, man, seriously. Lloyd, I quite like, actually, but, you keep thinking, oh, my God, just go get somebody else. Look elsewhere. We don't want to be like Bournemouth of the North and a better version of. We want to be infinitely better, and that's the whole purpose. Have the ambition. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, for me as well. I mean, Eddie Howe's relation has been promoted, hasn't he? He's been given a bit of a promotion. Yes. Steve Nixon's been at the club for a long time, and I think a few years ago we would have gone and he discovered Joe Linton. Good God! But now
he got all that grief, because I remember watching the show when Markham was saying, "Get him out! He's bought, what's he bought? This, that, and the other." And we're all now looking and thinking, "Wow, he's actually bought really, really well." It's like beforehand we had Alan Carr's dad, and he did a great job in terms of recommending players.
Yeah, that was Graham Carr, wasn't it?
Graham Carr. Ashley just wouldn't allow him to buy them, and a lot of them turned out to be world beaters, but we just weren't allowed to get them because he wouldn't spend the cash. Some really, really, really top-notch players. And Nixon looks like he's come from the same sort of area, and he's got a really good, series of contacts, and the players he's putting forward look spot on. And it also looks like he's going to come up with a different set of players to what Ashworth would have come up with. Yeah, which is quite fascinating as well. It's noticeable that the Joe Linton things seem to be going through now that Ashworth's gone.
Yeah,
and therefore you question why and what was Ashworth doing, and maybe it's nothing. Who knows? But it just seems very coincidental that it seems to be suddenly rolling. And is there any Newcastle fan who didn't want Joe Linton to extend his contract? I've yet to meet one. So it was an obvious thing to do. You don't then replace him by spending 50, 60 million pound on somebody else, and let him go for, peanuts, let him go for like 20 million, which is nuts, so yeah.
Yeah, and Newcastle should stay where they are and try and extend it, says Tom. Sam says, why a new stadium if we can't compete because of FFP? Mozza's going in for DOF. Good idea, Don. Let's be honest, Nixon has been nothing but loyal to Newcastle. I'm happy if he gets it. Don, I was offered, says Mozza. I'm still considering. Would you take Richard from Bournemouth? He's leaving at the end of the season. We'll just discuss that, Tom. And Yano says to Sam, because the stadium would greatly increase revenue, which would allow us to compete, which is right. Andrew says, have we noticed that other clubs' DOFs always quickly replace any person? I'm not impressed with the sharing role. It shows we aren't a serious club when it comes to someone like when Ashworth leaves. It's an interesting point, Andrew.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Yeah, it's a very valid point. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see which way we go. I just get the impression that Newcastle are going to change the structure a little bit. Maybe juggle around who does what and how, so.
Yeah. Don says, great to hear Sid's views. It's nice to have someone different here. But because we have to do the show early usually with Sid, we don't get the usual crowd. So we've been doing it on an afternoon, around about 3:15, 4:15 on a Tuesday, because that suits me and Sid. But obviously it means we miss a lot of the live viewers who tend to tune in at T9. So nice to have you on, Don. And I'm sure you appreciate that, Sid.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Will we get 80,000 a week if we can't compete because of restrictions? Bandwagon supporters expect silverware. That's another good point. And Peter Harrison, good evening, says, if it went to 70 or 72, then a few of us could say we were at the lowest ever attendance and the highest.
Well, as I say, when I first went at the ground in 81, and it was apparently, and I use big fingers, it was 17,000. It looked busier than that, is all I'm going to say. But it's so those were the dark days of 17,000. Can I just mention a comment here? Sunderland yesterday. I read a comment by Kevin Maguire, who I really like, the financial.
Yes, the Sunderland guy who does breakfast TV, doesn't he, or whatever?
He's the Brighton supporter, and he does all the sort of finances. And he came up with the comment about clubs which make up attendances as pretendants, which I thought was fantastic. I thought that was a really funny phrase. So pretendants, that's the phrase of the day for me there. I really like that in terms of making up the amount of people who are supposed to be there when it's clearly not the case. So super. Well done, Kevin Maguire. Brilliant.
Makes you appreciate what managers of old used to do all these jobs themselves. Director of football, throw-in coach, set-piece coach, loan manager. Good point as well, Geordie boy. Nixon's so-called great South American contacts haven't resulted in any signings. We all, I guess they all have ups and downs. It is a difficult job, but I presume he gets well paid.
But also, who's to say that he wasn't prevented from buying them previously?
Good point.
And also, Chelsea have came in and bought virtually all of them.
Yeah. Kevin, I think you've been watching too many of these retro things I'm putting on. I think we should look in to bring a George Riley forward. Mavis Riley. Rambo, I prefer to know him as. Remember when he went off the pitch against, it was either I think it was West Brom at home. He got a cut on his head. He came back on with a bandage, and everyone started singing Rambo, Rambo.
Right. Him and Billy Whitehurst. I'm not sure if I could call him a footballer, but
Big Billy, hard as goat's knees.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't say it to his face.
No. Billy Whitehurst ended up on the building site after football, but you couldn't meet a nicer guy. He always gets the round in, Sid. That's for certain. What's coming up on Songs from the Attic then? Anything?
We've just done one on Killing Joke, which I knew nothing of, so I was basically the host. The next one is Talking Heads, ranking the Talking Heads albums. So that's the next one. Love them.
Great stuff. Well, if you want to go and listen to Sid review the best albums by the best groups, then go to Songs from the Attic 1977 on his YouTube channel. We will have Sid back on with Rob next week. But for now, thanks for joining us. I'm back tomorrow night with Super Matt and Gibbo at 6 o'clock. Until then, that's all from nufc matters for now. Good night. See you, Sid.
Take care, folks. Bye-bye.